Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photo chats, all things photography. So today I want to talk about how to make photographs. People have often asked me, I want to make great photographs. What should I photograph? And you've heard this before, I think. I always answer the same. What can you photograph? What do you have access to? Do you know somebody who runs the presidential visits? Go photograph the president. Do you know somebody who, does pro sports and can get you access to the field at the local Denver Broncos game? Go there. What can you photograph? Access beats gear every time. That connected photographer who gets access to backstage of Mick Jagger having a moment before a concert, even if they have poor equipment, but they know how to use it, they're in a much better place than you with your best equipment standing outside looking for somebody. Maybe he'll come out and we can wave to him, get a picture. Access always beats equipment. So the question is, how do we get access? Well, it helps to be a pro. It helps to have a press pass. I have a press credential on my phone from ASMP. I have press credentials from the Colorado Press Association. I am a member of National Press Photographers Association, so I have press credentials through NPPA. That doesn't get me anywhere. That just gets me something to show them that I can maybe then apply for their credentials. Because people always think that having a press pass gets you into concerts and things, and it doesn't. It gets you to be able to talk to somebody who can see if you can get their credential to get in. But if you're going to places, you're shooting news, you're shooting things that you want to get access to. There's a horse show in town. That might be easier to get into than a Rolling Stones concert, if you show up and make the right contacts with the right people with a press pass. If you don't have a press pass, sometimes there's some other tricks you can use. A lot of people say, bring a tie. Having a tie with you can get you into a lot of places. Because right away, if you're wearing a tie, you must be working. Come to an outdoorsy place like Colorado and you have a tie on, yeah, you're working. I was photographing at the last election, and I walked into one of the election places with this camera, and I said I wanted to make some photos of the voting, and they said, I don't know if you're allowed, and I said, well, I am. It's public, and I've done this for many years. I'm not only with the press, I'm doing this for a personal project, but the point is, I think it's important to document elections, and can you please let me know who I can talk to so I can get authorization, because I'm certain that it is permitted. And they said, okay. And they checked with somebody and they found somebody and they said, yeah, we checked, you can. Please don't photograph anybody in their faces unless they give you permission. I'm like, that's fine. So I photographed people underneath the booth, the feet under the booth, and people kind of walking through the room. But then if I got anybody handing in a ballot envelope, I would ask them before I would shoot, hey, is it okay if I take your picture? And they were always fine with it. And I'm like, great, that's exactly what I want to get. And they said, and by the way, there's another polling station that's down the road, but it's got a much bigger crowd. And I said, okay, I'll take a ride down the road and see that. But that time I put a second camera around my shoulder. This was a film camera. It's a digital. And I take those two cameras. Now I walk into the second place with two cameras on each shoulder. At a tie, which I didn't do, but at a tie, they will open the door. In fact, they did. I walked into that location and they literally held the door open and said, we'll get you somebody who will escort you, make sure you get what you need. And they got me the person who was like the director of voting in Boulder. And I recognized her name from voting, when we vote for the certain local elections. She was that person. And I go, I know you. I know your name at least. And in the meantime, they're leading me the way, because two cameras means you're a pro. One camera, what are you? A phone, who cares? Two cameras, oh, you're working. That is a huge difference. And if you take on one with a wide-angle lens, one with a telephoto, this is a little Nikon F3 with a 105-28 micro Nikkor for super close-ups, macro work, and the tie, there's no telling where it can get into. Put a sport coat on if you're a guy, now you got something. Again, access. We need to be able to figure out how to get into the place so we can make the photograph. But first we have to get into the place. And there's a gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper wants to keep out the riffraff and wants to keep out the people who don't belong. So what are you working on? And when they say, what are you working on? You better have an answer. If I say I'm working on documenting the election because I've been documenting it for years, and I'm going to end up publishing this in a project called the Roy Stryker Project, which I have been doing for 5 years, and it documents Americans and ordinary American life, they're like, yeah, fine, whatever. But they want an answer. And I can't go, I'm not sure. You have to have an answer. So practice your answer. Or just know what it is. If you have a real purpose, know your purpose. Get your tie. Get your sport coat. Get 2 cameras. No telling what you can get. Years ago, I was a local friend of mine had his daughter in a local horse show. And they had a ticket area, and they had a place where you could go into the bleachers. And I went through this one stall door, and I was able to wind my way through where the horse people were. And I got to the point where I was right next to the show floor, and the person saw me with a camera with a monopod and another camera, and they just held the door for me. Because they saw my hands were full. They needed the help. 2 cameras get you in a lot of places. A tie and a sport coat help too. All right, access is king. Hey, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, hit the Patreon. I'll be back next time. We'll talk more photography. As always, here's the good light.